When you think you're showing off your big hair, but you're actually just showing off that you forgot to paint in and around your ear properly. Hi again. Today's tutorial is going to teach you 6 different ways to make scars and stitches. Well, actually I have 4 different ways to make stitches and 4 ways to make scars, but using 6 products. Semantics aside, if you want to learn these ways of making scars and stitches, keep watching. Who better to teach scars and stitches than Frankenstein's bride? Well, Frankenstein, but shush, I want it to be prettier. I have my hair up in this long weird style that seriously took me hours to do after so many fails. I totally recommend making or buying a wig instead. Now I am concealing the ends of my brows with glue as we are doing some fancy up brows today. And I am going to divide my face where the different flesh bits are going to go. I want some realism in this, so I tried to make the features all contained in one section. Like if I'd gone down my nose, I would have to make one half of the nose different, as different people would have different noses. Then I am filling in each section with different skin tones. Use what tones you want. You can even go for a more traditional Frankenstein with tones of green, or even keep them all your skin tone if you don't want to go the multinational road. I did sneakily use darker skin tones where I wanted to contour below my cheekbone. And I added some freckles to the lightest skin tone, first using a sponge, then adding bigger darker ones with a brush. I then diffused them out with a foundation I used for this section. This section is meant to be skin that was only just attached, so it's rotting and lost blood flow. I actually looked up diabetes legs for the reference for this colouring, which I believe is when blood flow is prevented from reaching their legs. It turns red and purple and grey and bruised, so I am blotting on those colours, and going back in with flesh to diffuse them. And we'll breeze through the eye makeup. It's just a simple black smoky eye. You can find like 30,000 of these on YouTube. But we'll focus on the brows. Even though these are from 2 different people, make them match. She did her brow makeup after being stitched together. I am pointing them up past the arch rather than down like normal brows, and am filling them in 2 different colours, dark for the tan side, lighter brown for the fair. And adding eyeliner for fierceness. And I am putting on some shadow lashes in the style Starry Night. I have a 15% off coupon code in the description, just pigeon pie with no spaces. And I'm filling my top lip with Bunny Pink from Clarity Cosmetics and my bottom with Kylie. I also have a 15% off code for those, just PPA. Scar and stitch time. I'm starting off with rigid collodion. I tested this first on my hand and inner wrist to check I was not allergic, and am applying it over the cheek divide. Rigid collodion shrinks as it dries, so it pulls in the skin, making an inset scar effect. I had to use several layers to get them as deep as I wanted. If you want to use this method for the scars, make sure to test it on a small patch of skin first, and then only use it in areas of your skin that are not sensitive, as it pulls in your skin tight and is also a bit of a bitch to get off. So avoid it near your eye area and don't use it on your lips. It has strong fumes, so open a window while using it, and don't use it in the same place many days in a row, as it can seriously damage your skin. Next method is lash glue. Yep, lash glue. Lay down a line of lash glue, then use the end of the lash tube to spread the edges jagged at some points. Of all the methods, this is the one that most closely resembles a real scar I have, as it duplicates the healed stitch areas. Next method is gelatin. Heat up your FX gelatin, let it cool until it is safe for your skin, and using a tongue depressor lay it down on your skin. You can try to blend the edges while it is still liquid, or dissolve the edges with witch's hazel. I used this along my cheek as an open wound by adding 2 lines of gelatin and running the tongue depressor between them to make sure they were separated, and I also used this as a healed scar under my eyes, as gelatin is super gentle and won't hurt that area. Next method is scar wax. I'm first laying down some spirit gum where I'm going to put the wax. I am using the wax on my forehead as there is not a lot of movement in that area, as scar wax can come off pretty easily in super mobile areas. I am blending the edges of the wax with this flat angled edge of a brush I had dipped in isopropyl alcohol. For around the hairline, I did the same as before, but using the edge of the tool to split the wax down the middle to turn it from a scar to an open wound. The next method is good old liquid latex. My neck is a very mobile area, so I'm going for the strongest method in this area. I lay down a line of latex, cover it in cotton, and cover the cotton in latex. This isn't super realistic, but it still looks pretty good. Latex has a strong ammonia smell, so work in a ventilated area, and once it dries, I don't know of anything that can dissolve it, so don't use any brushes or sponges with it that you wouldn't want to throw away. While it's still wet, you can try and blend the edges like I'm doing with Vaseline on my finger, but it isn't easy to get super smooth. Then, like I did with the scar wax, break a line down the middle of this latex to make an open wound. Latex sticks like a mother fluffer, so be careful where you use it and don't get it in your hair. Now, if you have forgotten what lash glue is made for, it's made to be sticky once it dries, so go over it with powder. The rigid collodion is shiny, so it should be powdered, and the gelatin is shiny and sticky, and it needs powder too. Now you will need to colour match these scars and wounds to their various skin shades, so go over their edges with the colour you used for that area. The final stitch and scar method is just paint. I outline them first with a lighter than skin tone shade, and for the scars I add those healed stitch shadows and then highlight the ridges with light. Here it's almost white. For the wounds I fill between the outlines with dark red, and while that is on my brush I go ahead and fill in all the other wounds. And the rigid collodion is not an open wound, but it wasn't showing up very well, so I filled it with brown and then highlighted its edges with a lighter shade. And I go in along the edges of any wound with a pinky brown shadow to add some irritation and make the wounds look more forward. Your lips are a pretty sensitive area, so if you want to do the stitched lip thing, I recommend the paint method. Here I am just outlining them in red and adding some blood drips. Speaking of drips, you can use them to your advantage to cover any edges that you don't like, so I'm adding them heavily on my neck wound. Stitch time. All of my stitches are painted on so I don't have to struggle with putting tiny pieces of wire or yarn or staples where I want them, or struggle to colour match real glued on stitches to painted ones. I first use grey to fill in the stitches and then I highlight their centre with white. Then I shaded around my lips to give an edge to the wounds, and with dark red, almost black, I dotted where the skin meets the stitch. Now to paint the stitches onto the 3D wounds. I first filled the place where I would need to put the stitches down with liquid latex, so I wasn't painting into a divot. For the scar wax, you don't need to do this, just push down the ridges of the wax where you want the stitch and paint on that. While the latex dries, I am adding some veins to the rotting flesh and to the skin connected to it. It's either this rotting flesh is infecting the other bits of skin, or it's simply so blood deprived that it's demanding way more blood flow, so the blood vessels are engorged towards it. And when the latex is dry, just do the stitches the same as before. Now we shade where the stitches go into the skin with brown, and you can add some lines to it so they look like they are pulling at the skin. And I added some veins to my breasts because I wanted some infectious titties. Let a girl dream, okay? Now to make this the bride, we gotta add the signature white streaks to the hair. I'm just using white face paint, and they are not in the same position on both sides. Now I popped in 2 different coloured lenses from Contact Lens Hub, excuse me touching my eyeball, and there was something I almost forgot. I am adding those black-red edges where the stitches go into the skin, just like I did on the lips. And we are finally done.
So you could add blood to some of these bigger ones if you want, but it's kind of overkill at this point.
I hope you learned something about stitches and scars. You obviously don't have to use all these methods that I used, but I wanted to make a look that was accessible to most people. Not everyone will have latex, not everyone will have gelatin, heck, not everyone will have lash glue, and scar wax and collodion are a bugger to find. And I'm sure there are plenty of other methods to make stitches. Third degree, silicone molds, Prozade transfers, and millions of others. Just remember to use what you can as long as it is safe. Do not use PVA or wood glue as you would liquid latex. I see that around so much and it scares me because when I was starting out, I tried it and my skin reacted bad. Only use things that are safe for your skin and made for your skin. Don't use acrylic paint on your skin, use lipstick. Don't use construction glues as adhesives, and even things that are specifically made for the skin, you need to be safe with. TLDR, or I guess too long didn't listen, be safe, use cosmetic grade stuff, look up what you can and can't do with a grain of salt as everyone's skin has different sensitivities. Thanks so much for watching guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Stay classy peeps.
The relief. The relief of getting your hair down after it's been up for so long. You should just get a wig. This hair is not worth it. I was in a struggle bus. Let's see. Yeah, the shoulder pads.
Me trying to recreate this picture